Light is a cheerful teenager who has always dreamt of becoming a successful adventurer so that he can give his family a life of luxury. To achieve his goal, he leaves his small village and heads to the city to register as an adventurer. But things are not easy for him. In this world, the goddess created 9 races, and humans are considered the lowest among them. As a result, they are always at the receiving end of racism, and Light experiences that as soon as he steps foot in the city. A beastman adventurer rudely tells him to get off the road, and Light can only apologize even though he wasn't really blocking his way. Anyway, once he reaches the guild, he registers himself as an adventurer, and the receptionist tells him that newcomers like him receive the F rank initially. She asks if he has a gift that can play a role in his assessment, and Light eagerly affirms. He tells her that his gift is called Unlimited Gacha, and he can basically pull stuff out of his ass. Since explaining is not enough, Light decides to demonstrate and summons his Gacha device, which he immediately activates. The Gacha rolls out a fork card, and as Light releases the card, a fork materializes on the table. However, the fork is all bent up, and Light panics. He tells the receptionist that things usually work out better and immediately uses his skill a couple of times, but the result is similar. He pulls a rotten apple and a moldy bread, which makes the receptionist convinced that this loser deserves nothing more than F rank. Light gladly receives it and then asks her if there are any jobs he can take right away. The receptionist points him towards the bulletin board where all the easy jobs are posted, but Light gets nervous just upon seeing that. The receptionist realizes that Light is illiterate on top of being a loser. But that part is not a surprise because humans have low literacy rates. She tells him that he can do the basic stuff like carrying rocks and gathering wood, but that pays a lot less than other jobs. Light accepts that, and after a day of working his ass off, he manages to get enough money to rent a room. He still needs to rely on his gacha skill for food, but he is confident that he can make it. However, a gang of beastmen has another plan for him, and they stand in his way deliberately so that he bumps into them. Their leader immediately begins yelling at Light for bumping into him and getting his clothes dirty. Before taking away his purse, Light panics, asking him to return the money because he won't have a place to stay otherwise. But the Wolfman simply punches him away, telling him that he needs to pay for his laundry. The beastmen leave Light lying in a puddle of mud, and everyone who passes by tells him to sleep in the dirty slums with the rest of the humans. Light feels really hopeless at this point, but then suddenly, someone stretches a helping hand towards him. He instinctively takes the hand of the pretty elf in front of him, but realizes 1 second later that his own hand was covered in mud. Light falls back, apologizing to the elf for dirtying her hand, but she tells him that it is fine. She assures him that she won't hurt him, but years of racism and discrimination doesn't let him believe that. To prove her point, the elf woman suddenly kneels down and hugs him, and Light is left speechless. Even as the people on the road mock the elf for stooping so low for the sake of a human, she helps Light back on his feet. Behind the elf, there is a group with people from different races, and they introduce themselves as the party named Concord of Tribes. They explain that they are a party formed with one member from each species that the goddess created, and they were missing a human. The beastman Garu introduces himself first, followed by the elf woman Sasha, who tells Light about the rest of their members. There is Drago the Dragonute, the Demon Diablo, the Oni Ubero, the Dark Elf Sion, the Dwarf Nano, and the Centaur named Santor. Guru says that they were just looking for a human to complete their party, and then Sion adds that they created this party to end racism and create a world where everyone is treated equally. Light finds this too good to believe, but he can't pass up on such a wonderful seeming party, and he gladly joins the Concord of Tribes. Soon, they start going on adventures, and Light is the weakest link in their team. He needs to be rescued from monsters by Drago and Sasha, who tell him to be more careful as one hit from the monsters will kill him. Light apologizes for his carelessness, but Sasha begins to examine him for injuries while telling him to stay behind them at all times. The rest of the party begins to tease Sasha because she is low-key obsessed with Light and cares about him a lot, and she turns red as she explains that she only sees him as a party member. Light feels useless because he can't do anything apart from carrying the luggage, but Drago tells him that he makes delicious tea, and that is good enough for him. Light is really happy to hear this, and he cheerfully follows the team deeper into the dungeon. Soon, they come to an open space with only one entry and exit, and the party members look at each other before deciding that this is the perfect place for their plan. Unaware of what the plan is, Light begins preparing to brew tea for everyone when Drago approaches him and tells him that he is being fired from the party. Light can't even process that statement and asks what did he even do to get kicked from the party. and the beastman Garu tells him that he is being fired because doesn't do anything. Everyone tells Light how useless and stupid he is, and even Sasha acts disgusted at him. The rest of the party start throwing insults at Light and the human race. Light thinks that this has got to be some kind of prank, but they tell him that no one has got free time to play pranks on a worthless piece of trash like him. He asks why they were behaving so nicely with him till now in that case, and they reply that it was just acting. Drago tells him that their superiors noticed his gift, Unlimited Gacha, and thought that he could be a maestro. That's why they ordered the Concord of Tribes to keep a close eye on them. But once they determined that Light's gift was worthless and he couldn't be a maestro, they gave the signal to dispose of him. Sasha is the one who is most relieved that they no longer have to keep Light around, because if he was actually a maestro, she would have to marry him, and just the thought of that creeps her out. Light can't understand what the word maestro even means, but then Drago says that they have told him more than enough, and they need to finish him off before more adventurers come here. Garu immediately apes Wolverine and draws his metal claws, using them to slice Light's face. Only now does Light realize that he is really in deep shit, and there is no way out of this problem. In his desperation, he runs away as fast as he can, and the racist bastards laugh at him, saying that they are not going to let him get away. Sasha shoots an arrow through his leg, and as Light falls on the ground and starts screaming, the racist elves say that hearing human screams is like music to their ears. Garu decides to make Light scream some more and begins assaulting him, but Drago tells him to stop because they need to make it look like the human died from a monster ambush. Garu obeys his orders and gets ready to finish him off, but Light crawls forward, desperately clinging to his life. Suddenly, the ground beneath him starts glowing and Light realizes that he is in the middle of a teleportation circle. Drago notices it too and orders Garu to finish him off quickly, but before he can reach Light, the teleportation circle does its job and takes him away. However, the situation doesn't get much better for Light even after he is saved from the backstabbing traders. The teleportation trap takes him to a random location in the dungeon, and he knows that the moment a monster finds him, he is dead. He begins to remember his family as he wonders what did he do to deserve being betrayed. He thinks about how nicely everyone treated him before they decided to backstab him. He now understands that their kind behavior was just an act, so he would completely believe them, and they showed their real colors at the end. He is really furious and channels his rage to become a reason to survive. He gets up, swearing that he will get revenge on those bastards and tear them apart with his own hands. Well, before he can throw out more cuss words at them, Light hears a low growl coming from behind him, and as he turns around, he finds a level 1000 monster glaring at him. He freaks out on seeing the monster because it is something straight out of a fairy tale. Light realizes that he was teleported to the lowest floor of the dungeon, and he low-key had a better chance of surviving his party than this monster. As he wonders how can he even fight the monster, his thoughts wander to his gift Ultimate Gacha, and he decides to take his chances. He begins pressing the Gacha button repeatedly, and then suddenly, his ordinary gift transforms into something beyond his wildest imagination. A giant magic circle appears below him, and the Gacha device starts undergoing a power-up. Light doesn't understand anything, but just as the monster leaps on him, the Gacha roll is completed. A level 90999 maid servant appears out of it and demolishes the monster in an instant. Everything is over before Light could even blink, and then the aura farming maid starts walking towards him. She kneels before him and instantly heals his wounds, telling him that she could not bear to see his silky smooth skin being injured, so she healed him without asking for permission. Light can't believe that he is perfectly fine now, and then the maid asks him for his name. He introduces himself as Light, and the maid gets really happy on learning his name. She pledges by the maid's code of honor, swearing to serve him till death. Light tells her that it is all cool, but she should at least give her name first. The girl introduces herself as May, the ever-seeking maid, and tells Light that she came from a super ultra rare card in his unlimited gacha. Well, Light refuses to believe that a level 999 maid would come out of his worthless gift, but May asks permission to use her appraisal skill on his gift, so read the finer details. He immediately grants her the permission, and May uses her sharing to find that his abilities are hidden under a very strong concealment, and anyone below her level can't even see them. She tells Light that his ultimate gacha is much more useful than he thinks. The cards it rolls highly depend on the mana density of his location, and as it turns out, there is another rarity class beyond May's super ultra rarity. Mei explains that the mana density of the surface is really poor, but in the depths of the dungeon, the air is full of mana, which allowed her to pull her. She commends Light's bravery in coming to the depths of the dungeon alone to unleash the full potential of her gift, and he tells her that he is a loser who couldn't even get near the dungeon on his own. He begins crying as he tells her how his party betrayed him in the dungeon. He starts whining and about how they promised they wanted to create a world free of discrimination just to trick him, and then swears to get vengeance on them. Mei suddenly hugs him, saying that she can't understand what he has been through, but she will do whatever he wants, and destroying the bastards who hurt him won't be too difficult for her. However, Light tells her that she can't do it, and it is not because he is kind. He just wants to get revenge with his own hands, but it is not possible right now because he is too weak. He swears that he will make all of them suffer before killing them, and Mei kneels before him again, telling him that if he wants to grow strong enough to get revenge, she will help him with that. She tells him that she believes in his potential, and Light can only thank her. However, he is not satisfied with just one overpowered baddie in his harem and decides to use the mana-rich environment of the dungeon even more. He uses his unlimited gacha again, summoning more high-class maids so that he can create a kingdom that will serve as the base for his grand revenge. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.